So today we're going to be making a quinoa salad. Now quinoa is a whole grain and it is cooked pretty much the same way that rice is cooked. It cooks quickly. It takes no more than 15 minutes. So I have here 2 cups of quinoa that I am going to go ahead and wash. Now some packages will come and it will indicate that it is already pre-washed, but I still like to do my own washing because quinoa also has a tendency to be a little bit bitter. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to rinse this just until my water runs clear, just as you would do with rice. Combined here 2 cups of water and 1 cup of vegetable broth, and of course it could have been 3 cups of vegetable broth to the 1.5 cups of quinoa or the 2 cups of quinoa, depending on how firm you want it to be. But guess what? I only had a little container of vegetable broth, and this is organic vegetable broth. So I just had to make do with a little bit of water. But like I said before, you cook the quinoa in the same way that you would cook rice. Some persons would go ahead and probably add a little bit of butter here or a little bit of salt. That's entirely up to you. However you like your rice is exactly how you will go ahead and cook your quinoa. So while we are waiting on that water to come to a boil, you will notice here that I have gone ahead and I have diced some white onions or yellow onions. I have also done some scallion. I have some red pepper flakes, and I also have a green and red mix of sweet pepper. Now if you had yellow, that would be nice, so it would add to the color. Now this is supposed to be a 3-bean salad, but I am preparing this for someone who is observing the type A blood type. So with that said, there is a kidney bean that could have been added to this, but I've eliminated it because according to the blood type diet, type A's are not to have kidney beans. So I went in with those things that would suit the type A. So here I have black bean and I have chickpeas. I've gone ahead and de-skinned these, and I also have some corn. Now what I'm using here are the beans from a can. In fact, I'm using Grace kidney beans, I'm using Grace corn, and I'm also using Grace chickpea. Right, so all 3 products are from Grace here. Now if you wanted to create this recipe with greater depth of flavor and a lot more excitement, one of the key things that could have been done is to get your own sweet corn or roasting corn, whatever it is, from the market, and put that on your grill and toast that up, roast that up real nicely. And then of course you're going to shave that from the cob and put it here to go into your salad, right? You could also purchase black bean in the market and chickpeas in the market, and of course use your crock pot. I always talk about that crock pot. Use your crock pot to cook those on the setting that says multigrain, or the setting that says beans and chili. Right here, beans and chili. Oh, that's rice and risotto. Beans and chili, or the option that says multigrain, and of course you would have your own product, and you could also season that to taste while preparing and leave a batch for another time. So I have these here and I am just waiting to add my quinoa, my washed quinoa, to the broth. But the water has come to a rapid boil. I'm just going to go ahead and I am going to be adding the quinoa to this, and then I'm going to lower the flame. So I decided to add an additional ingredient, and it popped in my mind, why not add some additional vegetables here? So I have gone ahead with some mixed vegetable. So here we have it. I'm just going to mix this around just to ensure that everything is nicely incorporated. I'm not ODing on the vegetables here for the simple fact that we're going to be serving this up with additional things, but this is nicely incorporated now. So I'm just going to reduce the flame and I'm going to have this steam up until it is ready, and I'll know it's ready once the quinoa absorbs all the liquid. Our quinoa is done. Not a lot of veggies that I've added here, just a little bit, as I said, but you could have amped this up a lot more if you wanted to. But I am now allowing it to just rest for about 5 minutes. I've gone ahead, I've fluffed it already, and just allow it to, do its little thing, sit there for a minute. Cool down. Yes, we want the quinoa to cool down. So while we are waiting on the quinoa to do its little thing, we're going to go ahead and make a dressing for it. So I've added some apple cider vinegar, some honey, olive oil, and a little bit of mustard. Ideally, Dijon mustard would have been good for this recipe, but again, you know that I am big on just using whatever is available in your pantry. So I had yellow mustard, so I'm gonna go ahead and just whisk this around. All right, so I know that persons are going to be wondering, why am I doing this? A big part of the issue is this: as I cook, I don't necessarily know what it is I want to put together. As I go ahead, I add things to my recipe, and pretty much I have to do this specifically for quinoa because on its own, it's packed with protein, but on its own, quinoa, in my opinion, is just flavorless. So what does that mean? You have to find ways and means of kicking it up and ramping it up and getting it to that place of excitement. And this is where you get a perfect opportunity to really play around with flavors and see what will contrast and just try your hand at something. So this calls for a lot of creativity in terms of bringing about that final taste. I've now added the quinoa to a mixing bowl, and I'm still going to allow it. If you look, you could see the steam rising from it. I'm still going to allow it to cool down a little bit more, but when it is cooling down, I'm going to go ahead and add my chopped onion to this, and I'm gonna mix it around. And the aim here is that I just want the flavor from the onion to be released. Now I can even imagine that there are some person saying, did she really say that she cooked 1.5 cups quinoa? Because this looks like an entire bowl. The truth is, if you want your rice to swell or you want your quinoa to swell, you can just hire me. I'll just come, drop it in the pot, and guess what? You can feed the multitude. I don't know, maybe it's a special gift. You know, you do have those individuals who, for some strange reason, they would say in Jamaica that their hand swell rice. Well, my hand clearly swell rice, and my hand clearly swell quinoa. So I'm going to assume that my hand just swell all grains. So this is a lot of protein goodness that's packed here. And it's healthy protein. And what's nice about quinoa is that it is good for all blood types. Okay, so if you're doing this dish and you find that you wanted to do this as the base, you could split it in two and add the beans that are for the type B or type O. And of course, over here, we could keep whatever it is that we're doing for the type A's. So I'm just gonna incorporate the onions here and just allow it to rest, allow it to cool down a little bit before we go on to our next stage. So let me just have this here, fluff it up a little bit. You should smell this already. Really good. Really, really, really good. So let's just have that here and let it rest. If you look closely, you will notice that I have added a little bit of dried herbs. So I've added to this mix some basil, some savory, and I've also added a little bit of rosemary. So it's all about the herbs. It's all about those aromatics. Oh my God. This smells really good, and I am not done yet. I am still waiting on it to cool. It is still hot. Just want it to cool down so that I can add all the other ingredients. Now that the quinoa has cooled down a little bit, I'm going to go in now by adding my bean mixture. So that is the black bean, the corn, and the chickpea. Again, you could have used any particular bean or any particular peas that you like, but I am going in with those that are good for type A blood type, because that's who I am catering to today. Now, once this is done, I'm just gonna add a little bit of red pepper flakes that you'd have seen me add here. Remember, quinoa has a bland taste, so you just want to really, you know, mix this up and get a lot of things going on in this process. Okay, we don't need to add salt because The quinoa was cooked with a little bit of salt initially, and these beans, despite me washing and draining them, they came as canned food. And we know about the preservation process there, so we don't want to OD the sodium content, so we're not going to be adding any more salt. In addition to this now, I'm going to go in with my sweet pepper. If you wanted to, you could have added a little bit of Scotch bonnet pepper, because again, it's always about the flavor. Always about that good old scotchy. But the person that I'm making this for really and truly cannot take a lot of pepper, so that's why I went in just with the red pepper flakes. And if you notice, I didn't use a lot. So we're gonna put this in here. What we can add, just to kick things up a notch, we could add a little bit of black pepper. All right, so black pepper, or you know, if you had white pepper, you could use that too, or a little bit of cayenne. It's really up to you in terms of what you're looking for as it relates to heat. So we just want to go ahead and mix this. Now forgive me for not using a salad spoon and fork. Again, it's your kitchen. You can be as practical as you'd like to be. It's not that I don't have that, but you know, I was just using my good old wooden spoon all along, and I guess it was okay for me to continue doing that. So here we go. So I'm just gonna mix this together so that everything becomes nicely incorporated. And then I think I'm still gonna kick it up a notch. There is something else that I believe might be needed here. Maybe I'll add some nuts, some pine nuts or pumpkin seeds or sesame seeds or something. And you know what? Another thing I'm gonna add, if you have this, you could try it. Add some raisins or some cranberries. I think I'm gonna add some raisins to this recipe right now, and I'm also gonna be adding some nuts. So let me go in, get my stuff together. Oh, try to get this out. All right, so I'm adding some pumpkin seed, and I am going to be adding some sunflower seeds, just a little bit. I don't want anybody to think that my aim here is to get the palate confused. It won't be, but it will be bursting with a lot of flavor. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go in with the dressing that I made for the salad, and I'm just going to sprinkle this all over, and of course I'm going to mix it around and have all this lovely flavor just come together real nicely. Here we have the finished product. This is our quinoa 3-bean salad. And of course, this has been prepared via style. Such goodness, such yumminess, such crunch, such flavor, such excitement. And guess what? As much as I am a type B, I cannot wait to dig in. Bon appetit. I've gone ahead and I have plated our 3-bean quinoa salad with some raw veg and escovitch fish. Look at that. I'm sure your mouth is watering and you just really and truly would love to taste this. But hey, go ahead, give this recipe a try, share your pictures, let me know how it turned out. And of course, if you love this video, go ahead and like, share, comment, but most importantly, subscribe. See you in the next video.